So when they sit up
Occiput
normally,
seated.
if they are, you can have them slouch, but there's only so far you can slouch in that chair before you feel like you're holding yourself up. To that end, we have this platform here. It'll be right in the middle of the room on the exam. There'll be 2 chairs set up on either side of it, so just walk up over. This is your office, so go to it. Today we can have 4 chairs set up around it if you need. The goal is, with those sconce chairs, is to lower the back of it down so that the top of the head is about the level of your xiphoid, so you're in your wheelhouse. To that end, nothing changes between here and there, just the fact that they're upright. So to make it a little bit easier, in other words, when you're supine, the bench serves really as a third hand holding the head. So when you're standing, the easiest thing to do is to let your stomach be, for the most part, your headrest, in which case there is no difference. Now the only difference that you have here is difficult to look over because you're not towering over them like you are when you're sitting in a chair. So I'd recommend when practicing just looking to have a mirror in front of you, because this way you can look at the nose as being the point of axis. It stays over the midline, and you can see if there's any involvement in the cervical spine. But relatively, going to use the same thing. Now, the thing you have to watch out for is we're isolating the occiput, so you don't want your fingers to get down and extend in the cervical spine, because as you laterally bend, they become your no fulcrum, where the motion really takes place. So in essence, when you find that mastoid groove, you're taking your hand contacts, just going behind it, and then slipping under the occiput. No further. In other words, you're not tripping down the cervical spine, just slipping under the occiput. Once I have this here, just have the patient just basically rest in you. You can see if the nose is over the midline, and you can basically see whether or not that's the point of rotation. From here, the chin is basically, that is the facet, that's the joint line. So the contact hand is going to dive into that joint line. And think of using your pads or your fingers there at the base of the occiput. For what the indifferent hand does, just think cross court, that portion, I was going to say like Irish, that portion, but this hand is going to be tractioning up and over the top. This is where you're kind of feeling it. So once, as I dive in, just take the slack out of the joint, nothing more than that. Once you have that pre-tension, from there just spin on through just a little bit, feeling the give and the recoil, and then just doing the opposite motion the other way. Just take the slack out, and then just spin through just a little bit. Now motion palpation, when they go to adjust their step-by-step procedure, is for the most part, their adjusting contact isn't what I have here. They usually take the index contact in the same place, so they'll slide with the index just behind the mastoid groove up onto the occiput this way, and on the side it would look like this. Now because my hand's on the back quarter of the head, stabilization at the same point on the other side for adjusting doesn't give you good stability. So instead, if you come cross-court, think into the zygoma is going to be, for the most part, your stabilization. So for your end over here, this would be my contact. I'm going to think cross-court into the zygoma as my point of stabilization. Because now I have, for the most part, I got nice and stable, holding the basketball at 2 different sides, on opposite sides. Their step-by-step procedure would be is, 1, I literally sidestep so that my belt line is basically at the acromion, laterally bending the patient's head with me. From here, they rotate it only about 4 degrees. That's a coupled movement. Now, adjusting-wise, what's my line of drive? Lateral to medial. I'm dropping into the half pipe. Remember, my thrust hand, where is it? SI. Now, where's my body facing now?
SILM.
So what they'll do is from here, turn in so you're right behind your line of drive, and it's impulse. So now the difficulty with cervical seated adjusting is, for the most part, is you like to be fast because there's no real stabilization outside the weight of the patient's laying back in the chair. The concentrated chairs actually have a seat belt to stabilize you to the seat.